Ted Moss. We honored the great Governor Cal Rampton 10 years ago at our JJ dinner. It was the only JJ dinner that rivaled this one. So at that dinner, to set the tone for the unbelievable election we had in 1986, I made a simple proclamation, and I'm going to make it again tonight for 1996, that 1996 will be the greatest year in the history of Utah politics for the Democratic Party. And as luck has it, we've asked, we called David Letterman's writers in New York. And on behalf of Mayne Holbrook, and the co-chair, who is going to deliver some very important thoughts about being Republican, straight from New York, we've got Mayne Holbrook.
You know you're a Republican if you collect money with Joe Walton. You know you're a Republican if you think a cash bar is the ranch in Logan, Utah. You know you're a Republican if you don't feel sorry for the poor horse in Chris Canner's TV ad. You know you're a Republican if you cried, actually cried at Enid Green's press conference. You know you're a Republican if you believe Birkenstock was the name of a radical rock concert in 1960. You know you're a Republican if you think the AFL-CIO is a pro in football. You know you're a Republican if you think 5.7 is the number of children you should have in Utah. If you live on the East Bench and don't know yet that I-15 is going to be a Republican parking lot for the next 5 years. You know you're a Republican when the only reason you stay up past your bedtime to watch David Letterman is to get a glimpse of Sparky Morton. And you're definitely a Republican if you don't know the title of the Utah Democrats applies equally to Salt Lake Commissioner Horiuchi, tonight's co-chair, and especially to Utah State Senator Ed Mayne, tonight's honoree. Thank you.
Actually, David Letterman has asked Megan to come on his staff for those excellent remarks. Listen, it's time to eat. It's a great day. I think the bar is going to remain open. I've already had a beer or two. And we're going to have this great dinner, socialize, and in about a real short time we're going to start the program. And it will be a fun one, an exciting one. Thank you all for coming. I hope you had a sufficient time to talk about old war stories, old campaign war stories, and also talk about the great victories in 1996. There are a couple people I want to recognize that came in. I just saw Kelly and Penny Atkinson came so late, hadn't been introduced. I'll make sure we recognize them. Okay, now, what we're going to do from the excitement from television land, I want to say that this evening is probably, it's a mega spectacular. You heard David Letterman like humor from Mayne, co-chair of this great event. You've had a couple of beers or whatever and been excited. You've seen guys like Rocky and Greg Sanders, and Bradley was here earlier, and Jan was here earlier. We've got all of us. Bill Orton is either here or he's on his way here from the airport. So it's an exciting time, and the best thing of all is tonight we get to honor probably the finest human being, certainly one of the finest, but I think in my heart, the finest human being, and the finest Democrat I've had the pleasure of knowing for the last 25 plus years of my life. I have 25, of course. And that is Ed Mayne, who is one of the finest human beings around. Now, through the excitement, what we have today is precise program, but through the excitement of the video and television land, we have a little video presentation that our friend Jeffrey is going to run. He's taking responsibility if it screws up, not making it right. We did feed him though, so he's in good shape. So Jeffrey, why don't we start with you? That was a video montage of a landing. And we're going to start first. We've got a few speakers. We're going to take a very, very short time to talk about it. Some real personal experiences. And first, we're going to recognize Tony Montano, who is Ed's longtime friend from when they were little kids up through school. Who'd like to take just a moment or two. Just one moment.
This is amazing to me to start this little thing here. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words about it. Okay, here. Let me just say that I've got to go back in time. I've known Ed ever since junior high. We were in the 8th grade together. I believe Ed was first day in school, and I guess the way Ed would tell us, he said that we're playing. I picked him first for the basketball team. I argued with him. The basketball? I don't know. Maybe we chose you because of your physique or something like that. Because to tell you the truth, I can't remember. I can't remember doing that yet, but I think we've been friends for a lot of years. And then Karen asked me to just say a few words about some of the things that we've done in our past, but I just wanted to bring up one point. The wedding. Does everybody that remembers the wedding can recall what went on at the wedding? It was kind of nervous. I just wanted to start out and let you know that Ed was a bit nervous at that wedding. The line was pretty nice. There was 5 of us there. We were all about my size, you know. Let's not take it. Ed and I, we were a pretty good size, right? We should have had a 5th person in there, and Bert, but the rat had a broken leg. He couldn't make it, so he stood back there and he said, "I'm glad I didn't show up." You know, it's Vander that arrived, and Steve Vander. Phil, he was probably the only African of the bunch. Phil Hitler, and Karen's brother, he was there. He was a pretty good sized guy. We were a pretty good sized line. I remember when we went in to have the wedding there, the preacher even stated to us the fact, he said, you know, you look like the front line of the LA Rams when we did the wedding. And he said the wedding's about to start, and everybody prepare themselves and everything. And Ed was a little bit nervous. We don't want to get into that too much because I kind of noticed him crying just a little bit in the whole thing that he started. And those of you who were there at the time will understand that it was kind of let off on the rest of the all started kind of tearing up just a little bit. And the wedding started, and the preacher had to turn around, and the music started. We could see Karen coming down the aisle. It was about that time, I think, Ed lost it. He was bawling, and the rest of us were crying, and this whole line had just gone berserk. He was a poor grown man just crying like crazy. I got into this day, I got to give Karen credit. Let me tell you, Karen, you. I don't know how you either decided to continue down that line. Yeah, that was bad. I was looking down, I didn't even want, I can't even remember what was going on because Ed finally made it to the top, and poor small Karen, he had to kind of hold her up there to get the wedding started. And I stood there and said, boy, please stay in this whole thing. And Ed would not stop crying. Ed would not stop crying. Finally, the preacher had to come down and console poor old Ed. Oh, and then he had to console Vander. And I thought Bert was going to kill us to get this thing over with. And he motioned for a high and everything, and the wedding we went on, and I really can't remember much about what went on the wedding. I just remember we all got kind of nervous and everything, and when the wedding all ended, we were all trying to get away and everything, and sneak off and leave, and we all made our congratulations and everything, and I got in my vehicle, and I took Larry Nelson, another person was in the line, and I saw Ed come out of the chapel, and he was with Steve's in.
No, it's not Karen.
And the bride and the groom, just, no, best man and Ed just jumped in the car and left. And I can't recall, but I don't think I ever saw Karen. It was just something that happened. Can I tell you? There's so many stories because I've known him for so many years, but that wedding was something else. I just want to tell you, Ed, I appreciate the opportunity to say a couple of words. Thank you very much.
Tim Rice and I talked about the beginning days.
In the words of Keith Jackson, yes, indeedy doobie. What a party. Well, when Eddie Mayne hired me way a long time ago, he was the only executive board member in tennis shorts interviewing me. I thought, this is going to be strange. You know, Eddie was always concerned, and this is what I appreciate most about him, exposing the best of organized labor. The Utah, the community, business, the lieutenant governor. And I brought some bungee cords for Ed. Anyway, what I remember most about Ed was the great Labor Day tradition at Lagoon, Local 2701, United Steelworkers of America, in the pool. Ed and I know why his pants fell. He, like most of the Northern European redhead Nordic stock from whence he came, he has no ass. As we were dressing down to our swim togs that day, I noticed Eddie retrieving what I can only describe as the ultralight, just do it, Speedo, marble bag swimwear. Wrapped in a row, we approach the pool. He submerges, swims a bit, emerges slowly, deliberately, with his pleasing plumpness, completely obliterating his Speedo. In back of me, I hear the cry of a youngster pulling at his mother's side, exclaiming, "Mom, that man's naked!" Takes me back to the days when I worked there, and Eddie was part of his Virgo compulsiveness and cleanliness. He would do periodic office cleanings. We would stay late into the night. And as you may recall, Dave Dickman and I and Eddie were there doing the cleanup. It was a compulsion, but Ed would feed us. That was part of the payment. And, of course, the labor's tradition is more is better. Give me some more of that USDA choice beef off. We'll go down to Mayne Tom's for a gut bomb burger. Eddie. And we'd be working, and we'd be failing, and then we'd get into it, and then we'd be eating that food failing, taco, burger, burrito, wrapper, sailing, life and greed from our face. Somebody asks, "What's that sticking in my side?" "Oh my God, it's Alan-A-U. Take a deep breath, he'll pump right out." And there's a knock on the door, and oh my God, it's Randy Horiuchi. 2 Buddhas and burrito sauce. There you go. Amen. The only home teacher I know who used to pack his merit say butts in his sleeve while he did his rounds. Well, that's all fun. But Eddie, principally responsible for crafting a new consensus about organized labor, its role and responsibility to, yes, family values, the community, the implicit social contract, often more characterized, well, unfortunately, in its breach than in its observance. I could lionize Ed Mayne, overstay my invitation here, reduce myself to a model and delivering embarrassment. Simply add the entire labor movement, Utah's working families, your West Valley constituency, fellow Democrats, union members, and I, among many others, owe you our deepest appreciation, thanks, and support, and keep sticking it to the Republicans.
Honestly, this wasn't to be a roast. This is not supposed to be a roast. But thanks, Tim. We needed that. Next, we'd like to recognize Senator Mike Dietrich, a legend in his own right. Is he here? Yeah. Where is he? Where is he? Get up. Get up.
pleasure for me to drive up from Price, USA for this event. I want to tell you a mythical story about how Mr. Strongarm lobbyist turned into nice guy, Mr. Senator. Once upon a time, as all good stories start, there lived a giant in the enchanted marble forest. Everybody called him Boss Eddie. Once a stranger went into the halls of the marble forest and asked, "Who's this Eddie person and why is he called the boss?" "I thought the Governor King was the boss person." "'Tis so in most places." "Nay, fool," the old wizard lobbyist Charles cried. "You would not say such if you ever seen him." Just as they finished speaking, a poor, unsuspecting Senator Barron entered the marble forest, and the great giant Eddie emerged from his lair in a puff of blue smoke. He wrapped his great arm about the Senator Barron, and the sound of creaking bones could be heard through the marble hall. First, Senator Barron's teeth began to rattle, and Boss Eddie said, "I'm sure you see the sense of what I'm asking, my good Senator." Although it was clear the Senator did not see any such thing or did not care, the sound of his own bones crunching induced him to say, "Oh, great Boss Eddie, it's surely the most sensible thing I've heard for many a day." Boss Eddie released the poor Senator Barron and straightened out his bent limbs in the most gentlemanly manner and sent him on his way. The stranger shook his head. "Now I understand. 'Tis a passing strange thing, and I would not have believed it had I not seen it." But all was not well in the marble forest. The Senator Barons gathered in secret while the giant slept, the better to plot against him and live to tell the tale. "'Tis not meet that we should fear the giant, for are we not the exalted of the exalted?" Poor Bear Beatty said, Tell the giant that if you trust it," said Baron Howell, "for I would fain see thee squeezed yet again." Many and most of the Senator Barons advanced plans to change the behavior of the giant, but all were for naught, for no one had the courage to try them. Finally, it was decided that the Senator Baron with the lowest handicap should be the one to change the giant. The chosen one gulped. He could feel his bones cracking already. Then an inspiration struck the Senator Baron. "'Tis clear the giant cannot be changed, and even if he could be, no baron is so foolish as to try. But what if he made him one of our exalted barons? If he was a Senator Baron, then he would not be ambushing us in the forest." All agreed this was a splendid idea, even the barons from the dark side of the forest, and so it came to pass. But our tale is not done. Boss Eddie was now Senator Eddie, and proudly took his seat in the penalty box. One of the senators from the dark side of the forest rose that he might be eloquent, but at the same moment Senator Eddie rose and said quite magnificently, "Mr. President, personal privilege, please." The President, Senator Beatty nodded, and Senator Eddie said, "Dear colleagues, please do homage to the Sprite Pack number 455 in the district." And so it was done. But every time one of those on the dark side of the forest rose to the eloquent, the booming sound of "Mr. President, personal privilege, please," came about. In would come a pack of sprites, or wood nymphs, or the Save the Unicorn Society, or some such, and homage was done. For none would naysay the giant who now lived in their very midst. Oh, true, there was rumblings of the great hall of the cloaks. One of the dark forest barons said, "There cannot be so many sprite packs in all of the enchanted kingdom of Utah, much less Senator Eddie Mayne's district." The Senator Baron with the low handicap smiled himself and then seated himself next to the giant, befriending him, for even such was his plan all along. As the Senator Barons from the dark side of the forest continued to land up, he thought to himself, did their fathers never teach them to be careful while they wished for what they might get? And so the Senator Barons of the bright side of the forest lived happily ever after, but those on the dark side there was a great wailing and gnashing of the teeth, even to the end of time. It is my honor to be an honor Senator Ed Mayne, my true friend of mine. I knew him when he first had the long hair like Clay's had when he came up there.
You know, Mike, you tell me I can't understand your mining legislation, but maybe after the program you can explain that one to me. It lost me way back. But you did, it was good. It came from the heart and wherever else it came from. I'm sure the prize is a kick. I don't know. I can say that because I'm a member of the penalty box, so we have things in that. I'm sure Ed's going to be, Ed, you don't have to cry at this. I'm being funny right now. This is the emotional part. You know, if you can go through your life, and you can count on one hand the number of really good friends you have. I mean, people that'll stick up for you and be there for thick and thin. You're a pretty lucky person. And if you can go through life and say, one of those people was Ed Mayne, you're a very lucky person. I guess you noticed on the slides, most of the people you saw on the slides are still part of Ed's life. Ed, once you're a friend of Ed's, you're a friend for life. And a lot of times I tell Ed, he's loyal to a fault, that he just doesn't like letting anybody down. But I'll tell you, it's the greatest feeling in the world to know that he's on your side, and that when you fall, he'll be there. When you get in trouble, he's there to try to fix them. He's a very unique person. Some of the people you saw in the slides that you might be interested in didn't start out to be that close to him. A good example was Commissioner Horiuchi. When he ran for state chairman, Ed Mayne was no fan of his. And in fact, one day I said, Ed, we got to take this guy out to lunch and talk about running for chairman. What do you say, Randy? He said, that'd be the last thing in the world I'd do is go to lunch with. And I can't finish the rest of the line. But I think that line was in Mike's speech. And Ed wasn't thrilled with a lot of us that were supporting Randy, but after it was all over, he won. He sat down with Randy and they had a little chat about loyalty and about sticking with your friends and why Ed had to do what he had to do. And then explained who the boss was for the next 2 years, and Randy understood that. But he told what he liked for lunch, and what he liked for presents, and but I would like to say that, and I'm sure there's a lot of you that can say this, but I count Ed as one of those 5 friends, and I'm truly blessed, and it's an honor to say these things about you, Ed. Congratulations, and keep up the good work. Thanks.
Next, we have the outstanding Ted Wilson, who, by the way, was kind of my Sparky Mortimer buddy during the convention. We screwed around a lot together. I'm not, I mean, we could.
Is this deal going alphabetically or something? Because as a Wilson, I've always felt like George Cavor's 7th husband. I know what to do, but not how to make it interesting. So we got the ward, and I knew it wouldn't be for long off. And those are 2 tough acts to follow. I am very honored, Karen and Ed, to be here tonight. You're both dear, dear friends. And when Karen called me and asked me if I do this, she said, well, you and Ed have had a lot of mileage. And you know, if we were cars, then we would have been checked in a long time ago. But Ed Mayne is a very interesting guy. I sometimes call him the marginally mad Eddie Mayne. He knows how to get you just enough on edge that you do exactly what he wants and still retain your friendship. When I was running for mayor in 1975, I had no chance. On August 2nd, 2% of the people lighted the poster and said they knew who I was. None of them were voting for me. Had it not been for Ed Mayne and Frank Lay, who was then president of the AFL-CIO, I would have not won that election. They basically got behind me, decided I could win early on, as they've done for so many candidates, and got us elected. And I give Ed and Frank and the AFL-CIO all the credit for that election. And I made my promises along the way. And I've always been a union fan. And so one of the promises I made to the public was that I was going to put into place as mayor, with the city commission, we had a commission then, a collective bargaining ordinance, the first one in local government in the state of Utah. Now, before you applaud too loudly, I want to tell you how I got really damn chicken on that. I got to be mayor, and and the Main Street guys came in and said, now you don't want to do this, it's going to hurt business downtown. And then you got a few more Republicans coming in from the right, and then the Alley Club folks called, and I started getting a little squeamish, and in came Ed, and he sat down, and he said, I think you're squibbling a little on us. And I said, I am. And I said, yeah, the guys on Main Street, the Alley Club. And I'm now the mayor of all the people, Ed. And he kind of looked at me and he said, Ted, I know how you feel. But the boys are going to be really upset about this. So I call him the marginally mad Ed Mayne. And he said, but I'll tell you something else. We will stand behind you. We will fight for you, and we will always be your friend if you deliver the promise you made to us. And I walked out of that room, I think, a new kind of mayor. It was a turning point in my career that Ed Mayne kept my feet to the flame, and I learned how to be a real mayor a pretty short time after I was first put into office. I saw Ed use that marginally mad technique at the convention this year, and you'll all remember that Ed Mayne let the Clinton administration know that he was going to be the only delegate in the entire hall of over 4,000 to vote against the president. Why? Well, all these cabinet officials who were supposed to come to our morning caucus started flaking out on us, right? And so the first wind I got of it, when I turned to my right, in the middle of one of the speeches that nobody was listening to, and I saw a shaken Federico Pena, Department of Transportation Secretary, going like this. And I walked over to Federico. He's an old friend. We were friends when he was mayor of Denver. And he says, we got trouble. I said, what's the matter, Federico? Has light rail been canceled? He said, no, it's much more serious. Ed Mayne is mad. And I said, what's he mad about? He says, he's threatened to be the only guy here to vote against the President of the United States. It'll make ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and all the stations in Utah. And I said, well, welcome to marginally mad Eddie Mayne. The next morning, it was like a parade of cabinet secretaries coming into our caucus. And we had Hazel O'Leary, we had Bob Rice, we had Federico. He said, can I come back twice? It was unbelievable. Ed knows how to play a card. Now, if you think he's just a power broker, let me tell you something else. I was with Ed Mayne a few days after Alex died, his beautiful dog, and I saw the tears, I saw the feelings. I rode with Ed Mayne to the funeral services or the memorial service for the victims of the Wilbur fire. We rode that long road, incidentally, with Norm Bangerter. It was a nonpartisan carload. The three of us rode down to southern Utah to Mike's wonderful county down there, the one that keeps delivering for Democrats. And we went to that, and the whole time down, Ed reflected on what the lives of those working people meant to him. There's a soft, loving soul here who's a family man, a great American. We love you, Ed Mayne. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Scott Belden.
Back to these. First Thank you, and what an honor to follow Paul Rogers and Ted Wilson. This is a tough spot on the ticket. Ed and I, we go back. Sorry, Blaze. I don't wear glasses anymore. It's hard to tell. Ed and I go back a few years. Apparently everybody else does. The only thing that concerns me is, Ed, we haven't got any new friends. These are all old friends. Ed, your union brothers are going to come here and lay heaps of praises on you. Who I decided I would speak for tonight are the working people in the state of Utah that don't belong to unions, because you represent them too. Karen Nielsen put it best the other day for all of those that don't understand just how the AFL-CIO works. The AFL-CIO is the labor unions what the Chamber of Commerce is the business, except we don't demand dues if you are a working person in the state of Utah. I was with Ed when he made the decision to run for the Senate, and it was a tough decision for Ed, and we discussed whether or not he could serve two masters, whether running for the Senate would take away from his duties at the AFL-CIO and vice versa. But I had confidence in Ed that he'd done everything else that he started out to do. And I was proud and had the distinction of giving him his first campaign contribution, which was incidentally my last $20. But it was money well spent. As labor leaders, we're proud to have had Ed walk the halls and carrying the banner for organized labor in the state of Utah. And we soon came to learn that there is no conflict of interest in decency for working people in this state. We were happy to have Ed carry the banner and the spirit of organized labor into the halls of the Utah State Senate. He talks about strange things in there. He talks about job safety. He talks about a decent wage. He talks about safe working conditions. And he talks about preserving the Workmen's Compensation Fund. He's also got another strange concept. This concept has to do with if you are working in the state of Utah and you do a good job on Monday, you ought to have a job on Tuesday. We're proud of you, Ed, and you can take our message anywhere, anytime you want it. Senator Dietrich talked about the senators from the dark side. And in that spirit, Ed, I have a little something I want to give you. This, my friend, is the United Transportation Union's Brass Lantern Award. You are in damn good company. Senator Rex Black, Warren Newsmeyer, and Ed Mayne.
Next, we thought we'd show another side of it is we'd like to invite Hunter High School football coach, Coach Frazier, who'd also like to take one of these here.
The first time I ever heard Ed Mayne's name, I was a 19-year-old kid working on the bottom of the Kennecott copper mine. And of course, anytime you hear Ed Mayne's name, the bosses in the copper mine would just kind of tremble. So I never knew who this guy was I was the head football coach at Granger High School for about 10 years and opened up Hunter High School in 1990 as a football coach. And one afternoon, the principal of the high school came in and says, you know, you've got a guy by the name of Ed Mayne wants to see you here. Of course, I knew I had a kid on the football team by the name of Mayne, and put the two together, and thought, oh, you know, hell, when they're pissed off parent that wants to make sure that their dad, you know, I make sure their kid plays. You know, that's really what went through my mind. And of course, I had seen Ed in the paper, and boys, I walked into the front office. I thought, oh, geez, you know, this really is the guy, and I had connected the two. First thing he said to me, he said, you know, Coach, have you ever considered putting lights on your football field? I said, well, yeah, I've considered it for a long time. I said, tried 10 years at Granger High School to put lights on the field. We went through all kinds of fundraisers. It never happened. He says, well, do you have, what kind of footballs do you buy for your football team? I said, all different kinds. You know, the school district always has to get the cheap bid, and that's the one that I get. He goes, well, I want you to go buy 40 footballs. I said, well, Jesus, man. I said, you know, they're about $50 a piece. I go in and tell the principal, I need to go buy 40 footballs. He's going to find himself a new football coach. He says, you know what? Just go buy the damn balls. Well, I told my athletic director at the time, I said, you know, I got some father out here that wants me to buy these footballs. Tell me he's going to help me get lights on this football field. Well, make a long story short, we get the footballs, and he organizes a little committee of patrons. And he calls me one summer afternoon, and he said, I want you to get all your players, administrators, I want you to invite your superintendent. Now, you folks are school teachers out there, you just don't call the superintendent to go to lunch, you know. He says, I want you to have the superintendent, all the administration meet at the airport Hilton, because we're going to have a little fundraiser, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to raise $50,000, $60,000 in an afternoon, and we're going to get lights in that football field for you. Well, you know, I told the principal, I said, hey, you know, I'm a little scared of this guy. I said, I don't know what he's all about. I said, I don't know what he's up to. I said, but he says this is really going to happen. So we show up at the airport Hilton. Well, as we get there, he's got all these footballs, and he has them signed by Randy and the governor and the 2 senators and all of the other elected officials. And out in the audience, he's got all the corporate executives of Kennecott, Geneva Steel, and all these corporations. Well, I've got all my players sitting in this room. And as all these elected officials come in, I'm listening to all the kids saying, hey, you know, how's he done this? I mean, look, all these people are coming in. Pretty soon, the security people for Governor Levitt comes in. They've all got their little earpieces in their ear. And I hear one of the players say, you know, how did this guy do it? And I'll never forget this. One of my football players says, I think he's the Jimmy Hoffa of Utah. But needless to say, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable to watch these corporate heads buy these, what Ed called political footballs, for $2,000 a piece, and true to his word, in one afternoon we raised $60,000. And I tell you what, it was all worth it. It was all worth it. Watching these 60 kids take the field underneath those lights. And I'm telling you, he is a true pillar of our community. I'm certainly happy to know Ed Mayne. Thank you, Ed, for all you do.
Longtime friend, Pat Shea. Maybe not for long. Well, we'll move right along here. We have some wonderful letters that Mayne will start off reading that have been sent to Anne. Sherry Swensen has a particularly First of all, I'd like to tell you that I had a great privilege and experience. In my office as county clerk, I was able to deputize Ed Mayne to perform a wedding ceremony. In fact, 3 of them in the past while. And I want you to visualize, if you can, Ed Mayne doing a wedding ceremony. That would be a little bit like Billy Graham being a labor leader. All of the bride and the groom and the line all showed up in labor t-shirts, I'm sure. And when Ed got the marriage license from the individuals, he started inspecting it very carefully. And as he looked it over, they finally said, "What are you looking for?" He said, "I'm looking for the union bug." As it went on, and he did the ceremony, he told them that there would be no divorce after he performed the ceremony. If they had any arguments or any problems in their marriage, that he would sit them down in a room and they'd have to go through a negotiation process. And if they couldn't come to terms on that, they could each go out on strike, but eventually they would have a contract. When they returned the marriage license to my office, it was really unusual because where there might be a temple seal or a clerk seal, there was a union yes label. This is a very serious note that I have to add, and this is a letter from Kay Christensen that talks about another side of Ed Mayne that most all of us here have seen and appreciate. And I'll read it for you. It's possible that I will share with you a very different side of Ed Mayne than most others will. I have numerous recollections about Ed, but the moment I was asked to say something about him, one occasion came immediately to mind. It was the day that Ed called me about something which must have been very important at the time, and he could tell I was distracted and upset. He asked me what was wrong, and I told him I had just learned that my beautiful dog, Misha, had a tumor growing around her heart, and I was going to put her to sleep the next day. Instantly and unmistakably, Ed's voice broke, and he was crying with me, expressing his understanding of my feelings, telling me how much he loved his own dog, giving me a chance to talk about it freely with someone who wouldn't think it's crazy to care so much about a dog. A few days later, when I saw Ed at a meeting, he hugged me, and again, tears came to his eyes. I told him how the vet came to my house, and our family all lay down on the floor with Misha while she went to sleep. Sometime later, he laid on the floor with his own beloved dog as she was put to sleep. And again, we shared tears and understanding. No matter how many times I may hear Ed, the tough negotiator and hardball political player, it will never erase what I know, and what I know is the very best part of my friend, Ed Mayne, from Kay Christensen. I just want to say, for the years that I've been involved in the Democratic Party, that I know that Ed has been a cornerstone of the Democratic Party. We are so very lucky to have him. For the candidates that run and run hard to raise money, he's always there for us, dedicated and caring about the Democratic Party and the working people in the state of Utah. And Ed Mayne, we love you very much. Thank you for all you do.
What we're going to do now is we've got several letters we'd like to read and then recognize 2 very, very special people who will sort of end our program. First, Senator Ed Mayne, Mr. President Ed Mayne, Utah State AFL-CIO, dear Ed. On behalf of the men and women of the AFL-CIO, it is with greatest pleasure that we join Utah's thousands of union members and working families in tonight's festivities of the JJ Dinner. Salute to you as we all renew our strength and commitment to prepare for these last week before the elections. It would be hard to think of a unionist anywhere in the country who can top your diligence and dedication to bettering the lives of workers and their children, or one who brings any greater dedication to the accomplishments, goals, and dreams of the labor movement. A commitment that never fails, even when it is not easy, to be proud of the union. we stand with Utah's working families and friends in saluting your energy, your leadership, and your persistence in all that you do to ensure that all workers enjoy justice, dignity, and democracy in the workplace throughout society. Sincerely signed, John J. Sweeney, President of the AFL-CIO, Richard L. Trumka, Secretary Treasurer, and Linda Chavez Thompson, Executive Vice President.
You know, after Sherry's wonderful letter, I'm totally convinced that all dogs must be Democrats. Julie Leroy, Vice President. Dear Sister Leroy, thank you for the invitation to be part of tonight's festivities. I appreciate your reading the following statement. Though I'm not able to join you this evening as chair of the AFL-CIO's Political Action Program, I am particularly pleased to be able to join Utah Democrats in honoring President Ed Mayne. As president of the Utah AFL-CIO, Ed has long been known as a militant trade unionist, not unlike another great Westerner, Joe Hill. Joe Hill, of course, was executed at the hands of the state firing squad, and it is our hope that Utah has a better fate in store for Ed. I know that I don't need to tell you that Ed's advice is often sought out by policymakers here in Washington, D.C. I know that the Clinton administration was particularly interested when Ed first suggested the idea of placing additional land in Utah off limits to developers. In fact, the president often asks whether his popularity in Utah is rising because Ed predicted it would. In all seriousness, though, those of us who know the kinds of battles Ed Mayne has been fighting for working families in Utah can't help but admire his lifelong courage and commitment. As president of AFSCME, a union whose members have often been the target of choice by the radical right, I particularly appreciate Ed's advocacy for strong and effective public service. Ed Mayne has been a leader, a friend, and a brother to every worker in Utah. And the American Labor Union and the movement is much better off because he lives. In solidarity, Gerald McAtee.
And finally, congratulations, Utah State Senator Ed Mayne, upon being honored by the Utah State Democratic Committee for your distinguished service to the Utah State AFL-CIO and its more than 72,000 members. The United Steelworkers is proud of Utah State Senator Ed P. Mayne, who is also the President and Secretary Treasurer of the Utah State AFL-CIO. Having risen from the ranks of local union and USWA Local Union 485 to the pinnacle of the state federation, he is the embodiment of the kind of leader our union molds. His commitment to the principles and goals of organized labor, his dedication to the interests of workers in Utah and throughout the nation, and his loyalty to the United States Steelworkers of America, the union which nurtured his early aspirations, are unquestionable. On behalf of the International Executive Board and the over 700,000 members of the United Steelworkers of America, I wish Ed a long life fulfilled by continued service to organized labor in the state of Utah, plus happiness with his wife Karen, daughter Jamie, and son Paul. Sincerely signed, George Becker, International President of the United Steelworkers. For our last two presentations, I'd like to recognize Ed's really right-hand person, Karen Nielsen. Karen,
Well, time is running a little bit long, so I'm going to skip a couple of stories that I had. And I'm going to start on, since dog seems to be the topic, Muggsy. Muggsy is the adopted dog, the new 8-year-old. He's a golden that has come to live with the Mayne family. Muggsy came to live with them because he was out by the bay, and he's an avid hunter, and by the wilderness was dragging ducks home, and the ranger would follow him home, and this was costing this owner quite a bit of money. Then finally one day Muggsy came home with a goose. That was it. They put Muggsy up for adoption, and Ed went out, and Muggsy fell in love with Ed, so Ed took him home. He's chewed through doors, he's eaten beds, he's gone through a steel frame, I think. And then one night it started to thunder, and Muggsy ran away. Ed was devastated. For 3 days in the office, he moped around. He would take and drive the streets. He got a map, and he looked at the area, calculated how far Muggsy could travel in a day, what barriers he would come up. By now he's hungry. Let's see, there's some restaurants over here with garbage cans. He could stop for a meal here. I mean, it got so tense in our office, it was horrible. Staff decided to take patrol, and we would leave the office, call strange dogs up to the car to see whether they would answer to Muggsy. I pulled up, there was a retriever sitting on this guy's porch, and I pulled up, whistled, and he looked at me, and I thought, aha, Muggsy. He got all the way out to the fence, and then the owner came out. And this guy was not too happy with me. I thought I was going to get arrested. Don tried to haul a young dog into the back seat of his car. And luckily, anyway, the lady finally called, who had had Muggsy for like a week, and just loved Muggsy. Muggsy went about 5 blocks, found a little female friend, went in the backyard and started hanging out with her, and he would teach this little dog how to yell at the back door, and the lady would look out, and they'd get out of the rain, come on in, she'd feed them. She thought he was so cute, but it took about 5 days before Muggsy came home. Ed, someone touched tonight on how Ed likes to clean and organize, and I'll tell you this guy, I leave the office. When he starts doing this, I get the hell out of there. I can't handle this. This guy has file folders everywhere in his office. Everything is organized. He'll take an afternoon and he just sits in there with his head down, and everything goes in papers and slots. It is so organized, it's wonderful. One afternoon while he's busy in there cleaning his office, he yells at me, and I hear this blood-curdling cry, "Karen, get in here now!" Well, I go in there not knowing what was going on because it had been so quiet. He said, "I ran out of folder files." He said, "I need your help. I got about 50 more to go." And he said, "All my file folders are tabbed here on the left. I have got to have some that are tabbed over there." He immediately called down and have them deliver 50 to my office now. I said, "Let me see if I've got this straight." He said, "I hate you." So I went back to work. I don't know whether you have noticed these 2 young ladies down here. Well, will you 2, Ruth and Carol, just stand up real quick and look around? One last quick story, and then I'm out of here. Look at these women. Wouldn't you love to take your kids over there and have cookies with Grandma? Aren't they wonderful? Aren't they wonderful? The first fundraiser that we ever had for Ed, we had it out at the park. And these 2 are out there, and they're tied in the aprons. They've arrived 2 hours early. They're loading things up. They're lining tables. I mean, they're doing everything. Strangers are wandering up, looking at us hang signs and doing what all. It wasn't until later, as we were all sitting down and the fundraiser was going, these 2 were chatting to each other. They were so proud. They had gone over to every family that had walked up to see what was happening at the fundraiser, ID'd them, asked them where they lived. If they lived in Senate 11 and could vote for Ed, they welcomed them on in to have a hamburger. If not, they told them this was a restricted area and they couldn't come. If Ed gets too busy to tell the Mayne family how much he feels about you, I hear stories about the good you do every day. He loves you guys very much, and he's very, very proud. He works some really long hours, and I know there's times he's probably forgotten to say it, but he's very, very proud of you. And thank you, dear friend. It's a great honor to be up here tonight honoring you.
my distinct pleasure to ask Karen Mayne to please come up.
This is great. You know, when I saw this video today, I thought, you know, these guys are going to get a hoot. Most of you know me forever, and you've seen me go from skinny to blonde to long eyelashes to this way to fluffy. I mean, how would you like that? How would you like that? Hey, Christmas, they're going to think this is really cool. When I was writing my speech, I thought, you know, I used to write my speech on like little things, like little. This is what I've happened to me. No, big, lots of line, no bright. So, you know, if you feel bad about yourself, just remember I had to steam myself age from 18 on. Turn page, okay? That's nice and bright, I got that. You know, when I walked around the crowd, I saw most every person I am familiar with or friends with. And as I looked at you and I'm looking around, I see happy eyes. I see eyes that want to be here. And you know, I've been to bagillions, decide you think I got fluffy. I've been to bagillions of fundraisers and all those things. And I know some of them, you know, you'd rather stay home and things like that. But I appreciate you coming tonight. People come up and said, you know, I want to be here and I want to be with you and Ann, and I appreciate that so much. And I can see it now. With all our friends, we've been in some valleys. We've been in some deep valleys. But we've also been on mountaintops. And our friends and our associates, we called on people for their skills that we didn't have. We called on people for advice when we didn't know what to do. And we called on our parents that have always helped us, and they've helped us climb the mountains, from the valleys to the mountains. I have two stories that I'd like to share with you. They're short. I can remember when Ed and I have been together for 100 years, he said, baby, I'll show you the world. I'll take you to the moon. And I didn't know he's going to say, I won't be home to the moon. You know? So he comes home every night with this moon. I should have thought about that a little more. And one thing that I'd like to share, and the steel workers would share that with me, when Ed was president of the local, we were young. He was very young when he was president of the local. And I can remember getting up in the night and all the truck drivers would come. And mining's a very dangerous profession. Lots are injured and lots are hurt. No people die. And I can remember getting up in the middle of the night and he'd be sitting with the truck drivers where one had gone over the dump. And if you mine, you'll know. And how they were concerned. And we'd have a small house, and it would be filled with truck drivers because they have no sense of time. See, they work all these hours, and Ed would sit with them and talk about safety issues. But I think the thing that brought it home to me is when we had to bury them. We buried 4 or 5 people at Kennecott, and young families, people that had gone over the berm. And you know what a berm is. People that had been killed in the mines. And so I think from that painful thing, we understood the sisterhood and the brotherhood of unionism. We understood of working people. You don't have to be organized, but you have to live in dignity for what you do. I don't care what you do, if you have pride and if you can live in a safe situation, then I think it's worth it. So I always think of those families that lost a loved one for something like that. I just wanted to thank you for coming. I want to thank our friends and relatives. And this is, I'm telling you, I'm not coming back in 20 years and having another video. 18 to 80. I truly like, I'll tell you the story. We were looking through some of the pictures. I mean, they're forever. We're looking for the pictures, and here I was. I mean, God's cool. It was like 25 or whatever, and in this bathing suit. I said, oh, Ned, look at this. He says, you remember that then? You ever look like this? I thought, give me a break. It's kind of nice. I have two things I'd like to share. I'd like our children to come up, please. We live a trying life, and it's not like everybody else's life. We go to a lot of things. I can't believe the phone calls I've had at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that says, I need 15 live bodies to stand back of this guy. So I call everybody I know, call our parents. I need you to stand there. He says, my mom says I'm sick. I don't care. I need you to stand there and smile. So it's been hard, and we've asked a lot from them, and we probably haven't given anything back as much as they've given to us. And sisters, yes, 3 wonderful sisters. I have my brother and Bert's forever, and Tony and Sandy, all the people that have stuck with us for this difficult but enjoyable whatever we do. I'd like to present these flowers to our parents, and I'd like to present this to my husband. We've been together for ever. I was 18 and 19. He said, baby, I'll show you the world. Well, we sure did. You always get these pictures, and this much for you. This much for you.
We have some just a couple special gifts that came actually from Lieutenant Governor Owen Walker and Governor Mike Leff. It's great for Ed's excellent service in the governor's ball, in which we saw several of the pictures where his pants fell down. And so, if you could, Ed, we're going to give you these 2 gifts. You stay there. We'll hand them to you. Open the one with the bow first. That's from Mayne, and then the governor has this as well. And it says, Ed, you've heard the expression, keep your shirt on. Governor Levin, Old Mayne. That's right. Also, and we have a couple of special visitors, including one household family visitor that wants to come and give you a final present. And then, listen, straight from Chicago, live from Chicago, we need to see first here. Evidently, this one who got a call. I'm a little scared. I thought we were being lunch. I had to get a special dispensation from the health department. That's right, Dr. Swanker was really good. Okay, there we go. There's nice. You should probably cow puppies. It's my favorite food, cow puppies. All right. say straight from Chicago, and you know these characters, they are here to present a special gift to you on behalf of the Democratic Party, particularly Gene Holbrook, who helped us get it. So here we have, live from Chicago, the infamous Blues Brothers.
You know, we were in Chicago, head to one of the most great, fantastic blues parties. And we want to make him an honorary blues brother. And just to show you how great he was, we're going to show you how he dances.
You know, the Governor's Pub in downtown Chicago will never be the same place. We were told that there was a guy there by the name of Ed Mayne, and he had this really sharp-looking blonde that he was dancing with. And so we decided we had to find that guy tonight because we can't stand the competition. Mr. Mayne, come here, please. We got to make you a blues brother. You wear that with pride. Now, we got to get out of here because the cops are chasing us, but we got to leave you something to remember us by.
Move him up, hit him up, move him up, right!
Mr. President, on behalf of the Utah State Democratic Party and the compliments of that outstanding Kathy Wilson you see over here, we have this beautiful landscape. Well, Mr. President, I guess that it's probably appropriate that we really leave you a moment or two to say something. That's enough. So here you go. Took me 32 years to build this reputation. Took them 32 minutes to tear it down. You know, Mike, where's Mike? Right here. Mike called me in August. He says, Ed, we use your name to raise a little bit of money for the coordinated campaign to help out all Democratic candidates. And of course I said yes, whatever I could do to, try to help get out the votes, because I think this is going to be kind of a special year. And Mike, you're pretty damn smart. You know that? I mean, I have a lot of different responsibilities and things like that. As we were going to have a fundraiser for ourselves, for even though I'm not up for election, to start doing that because after Scott Howell and that other fellow break all sorts of records this year for the cost of and Grant Prosman and the Montgomery race, we thought we'd better start a little early raising some funds ourselves. You have totally and successfully taken money from me and put it into the party. You're one of the smartest chairmen, next to Randy, that I've ever seen. If I'd have known that, I'd have nominated you. This is really kind of awkward and hard because there's a side of me that I don't let a lot of people know, and for reasons. I am kind of a nice guy every once in a while. But just for tonight, I'll say that it was funny, the people that were doing the roasting
made me sign an agreement that says, Ed, this is to certify that Ed Mayne, for the hours between 7 and 9, we can say anything we want about him, and he will not take retribution against him. So they're safe for now, for at least a minute or two. There's a lot of things I could say about the people that roasted. The time really gets late, but I do want to mention a couple of, all of you are very special. You really are. I'd like to say something about my dear friend Tony and Sandy Montano. Tony, like I said, we were friends in the junior high school. We played football together. We played baseball together. We grew up. We went through the, I guess, those different things that we did we don't want anybody else to know about. And you were pretty good. I did leave I was so upset. We were so I left Karen at the church. I left her at the church. True story. And Wendell had to come, you and Wendell had to come and get her. And you gave her away once and you got her back. Well, if the real story would be known, she told me, you know, it's been long enough, either marry me or get out of my life. So I thought the best thing to do was marry. She's a pretty special lady, and you could see, I mean, just by her comments and her abilities, like I tell my friends in the labor movement, not just getting me or getting Karen. She does more for the working families and the values that we believe in than many times that I could ever do. But that's what it is. Labor's a family, and very pleased with my family. My mom and dad, wasn't that a great picture? Handsome people, beautiful people. Yeah. Where's my three sisters? Stand up, please. Come on. Shauna, where's Shauna, Terry, Tom? Really a spoiled boy at home. I had three sisters, and they couldn't compete. They had to compete amongst themselves. And so I was mama's boy. That's just the way it is. Still am. Mama likes me best. I've been very fortunate to have a wonderful family, wonderful in-laws. Remember the snowy days before the election last November when Democrats from the Potomac to the Pacific got hurt, wonderful people, didn't get reelected, and the suffering that we've gone through in the last 2 years. My dad, who got an artificial knee right after the election, true story, was in so much pain that Mom and Dad will knock on over 1,000 doors in the Kearns neighborhood, saying, you know, and talking to them about their son. I didn't have it on the street corners in snow before the election. I had 7 women run my campaign, and I want to tell you, they didn't want to win. They wanted to rip my opponent's face off. You never want to win, and my opponent's a good friend of mine. I want you to know that. But I got to tell you, you want to win, you make the woman your head of your committee. That's all we can do. My mother-in-law, Karen, my sisters, my sisters all have different talents. One cooks better than the other. One looks great in a running outfit. She's running around with Ed Mayne for Senate in a jogging suit up and down the streets at prime time, sending a message. Lynn Turner organized. Sandy was my treasurer. I'll tell you, she knows where every penny's at. It's for darn sure. I just spend it. She wouldn't let me. I want to tell about Sandy and Tony. I mean, you know, we used to go out and have fun on weekends. And we got a little practice if we can get away on Friday nights. We used to go out and do things. Well, now we play pinochle on Friday nights. That's how old we are getting. Having fun. And I refuse to play pinochle partners with my wife. I mean, she drives me nuts. She Tony and Karen played partners, and Sandy and I. One time Sandy and I had a wonderful hand. I mean, this is like the hand that comes from heaven once in your lifetime. And Sandy every once in a while will have just a little seizure. Nothing serious. And she had a seizure right there in the middle of this hand. I said, Sandy, you can't have it now. We're right having this game. But my wonderful friends that lived in apartments together, we sowed our wild oats together, and we live across the street from each other. And that's my brother and sister, Sandy and Tony Montano. A lot of good, fun things have happened through our life. I want to also recognize the dirt ball table. I mean, Blaze and yeah. You know, this is the first thing that Blaze has come out to in the evening time for a long, I mean, welcome to nighttime Utah. Frazier, I mean, and I say this in just awe of this man. He made it sound a lot more glamorous than what it really was. We needed to do some things to make some schools on the west side a little bit more like the east side schools. Not that there's any difference other than just very good things like swimming pool books. West side of Salt Lake County. So I went to Granger High School. My wife and I did. Our children went to Hunter High School. My sisters went to Kearns High School. And not one of them had football lights or anything that they did. Well, we made sure they did it with the help of the electricians and the operators and different units, and the carpenters who volunteered, and a lot of other people that bought a football for $2,000. Sorry, Dad. It really was a wonderful Karen, I mean, everybody helped on it. It was a real fun program. Coach Frazier, he took a new high school and took it to state playoffs, which was unheard of in its first years. And he had a football program that was one of the finest. He had an opportunity to help more people and more children out, and he took a job as vice principal. By doing that, he had to give up his coaching. I want you to know, nothing against the coaches there, because he's a wonderful person. The Skyline, Highland, this would have been coach defending his third state championship this year if Coach Frazier was still there. And I just say that because he's a wonderful guy and does so much for people. Timmy. We grew up together, and without you, those first years would have been very, very difficult and hard. Michael, my buddy, the penalty box. Michael, Dietrich, Blaze Morton, and me. I mean, we put fear into people's hearts. They did not. The penalty box wasn't, because we were doing things wrong. It's like in the hockey game. You get in a fight, they throw you in the penalty box. We were always fighting them, and we enjoyed doing it. We kicked some butt up there. We enjoyed doing it. And standing up for children and senior citizens and working families and people that they would take turns dealing with. I just, that was fun. And our colleagues, Eldon, and everybody that's here and running for office, it's marvelous to see what's happening. To the committee, I want to say thank you. This was a marvelous thing that you've done. I knew that it was a little different when when pictures were gone out of my office today. And he said, oh, it's just a fundraiser, nothing serious. And it made me cry. And that's hard. The two chairmen, Megan, thank you very, very much. Randy, consummate politician. I mean, this guy, I just can't say enough about Randy. He's got so much wonderful instincts and the things that he has done. but he's always stood by the Democrats, and he's always stood by the tough decisions, and so I appreciate everything that you've done, and brought a new sense of politics to Utah when he was the chairman of the party, focused in on how to win races and targeted those things. The standard is always that Ted, my friend, can I say, my friend, all of our friends, you've done so much for this party, you did so much. There's some things that are going to happen this year that are going to surprise a lot of people. You know, I looked at that picture of Mayor Dirks and Dan Furman in a real tough political primary that split the party and things like that. And I looked at two wonderful people, like Kelly Atkins and Ross Anderson. I want to tell you, Ross, you're going to surprise the hell of a lot of people. It's going to happen. I mean, you can feel it out there. I mean, we felt it in Chicago. We felt there's just something that's out there this year. There's that what they've done in 2 years to hurt people is coming back. You don't take food from children and give it to those who don't need it. You don't try to take and balance the budget by taking money away and health care away from senior citizens that were promised something. We see that and we feel that change out. You don't tell working families in this country that they don't deserve a decent wage, they don't deserve dignity. And these things are going to, the Democrats, maybe we needed these 2 years, because I can tell you, it's going to happen. You just don't know how much that backlash is going to be, but it's out there. A part of it I can feel is that, you know, the Fish and Game always schedules the opening of duck season, which was scheduled for tomorrow on the weekend of conference, because it always rains. That's good for duck hunting. It's going to be a beautiful day, and we're going to have rallies, and we're going to register voters, and we're going to do a lot of the things that we have to do to make sure that it wins. And we are going to make some differences. I just want to thank everybody for what they've done. I don't even want to start talking about Sherry. I've had so much fun marrying people. Yeah, I told you about one of my people that I've married ever has had a divorce and been separated because of deal with me. And if they don't deal with me, they're going to deal with the teachers, the stewards. Rest of them. My friend Scott Belden, my brother, thank you. Did you see the people in that video? I mean, it was hard for me to look at. People that aren't with us now. Art Monson, oh my, Governor Matheson, and people that made the foundation of this party. They gave us the legacy. We got to pass it like an apprenticeship program. Like my parents told me, like their parents told them, why we're Democrats, why we do the things that we do. Wally Sandak, my God, one of the finest persons that where's Wally? Stand up, my friend. Stand up. On his 80th birthday, he taught me how to line dance. Amazing, totally amazing. But we've all done well. My brother-in-law, Phil, the children made me very happy. Made me mad at times. Why? You think, this is the longest we've been together for a long time. 2 hours together. Paul, the heater downstairs in the bathroom, you got to unplug it. Maybe you got to clean your room just a little bit better. 17, 19, since we're here, I thought I'd take advantage of telling you. Well, I want to end. Before I end, right. Okay. I've got 3 sizes of clothes in the closet. And I hit the top level. I'm in the middle one now. I got one more to go down. This thing's going to be a little bit nicer. Thank you. This much for you. I want to end this thing by, at least my part of it, by just saying thank you to everybody. Like you, most of us, we watched the Republican and the Democratic convention. Some of us were honored and lucky enough to attend the Democratic convention. Did you watch that Republican convention? I mean, half of it was old, tired, bored millionaires. It was like that. I mean, they just sat there. There was no fun. There was nothing at all. The people who attended the convention as guests, friends, spouses this year, would you please stand up? I want to just recognize a lot of you. I want to show you the difference between the Democratic convention. Not only did we have a better convention, had fun, and whoever talked about the little private party we had, I'm going to get them. We're not even the press mentioned that one, but we had a lot of fun, danced a lot, did things we've never done before in our life. But we had a lot of fun together. Oh, just keep standing. Stand up. I want to show you not only was our platform and our candidates and the enthusiasm better, but America. You wonder why the 18 to 26-year-olds are coming back to the Democrats, why working families, why the seniors are coming back, because they witnessed this convention and they heard a lot of the things that like this. Let's do it. I'm so embarrassed.
Okay, we have 3 really quick announcements, and we'll turn the time over to Chairman Zuhl. First of all, we may have introduced him before, but I want to once again recognize Nelson Rainieri, who's the Clinton court, the first ever Clinton person in the state of Utah. Visitors for signs, brochures, we're making a major statement. The second announcement is, where's Brigham Daniels? Brigham is the chair of the Utah State Young Democrats. Now, before you leave, I want you to give him some money. Now, I know he's a really honest guy. He works in our office. I want you to give him some money. He's got a big convention coming up that he's we're going to have literally thousands of young people to this month, and he needs money for the convention, so give him $1, $5. I'm going to take away from the tips from our great bartenders, but give him some dough on his way out, or get a card from him, and he'll tell you where to send it. Finally, we need to announce that you can get out of the parking lot by just telling the people that you were here. So you don't need any parking things. They believe Democrats are very honest. So if you're on your way out, don't give any money, just tell me where this parked. So on behalf of Mayne, bye.
Thank you very much for coming and goodbye.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think we're all exhausted and we need to go. Ed, thanks again for allowing us to honor you. You're very special to all of us. Thank you all for coming. Clinton Gore rally tomorrow at noon, State Capitol. And I want to mention on behalf of Greg Sanders, former presidential candidate and former governor of Massachusetts, Michael Dukakis, will be here a week from tomorrow. That's October 12th. Details will come, but we want to make sure that we attend that for you, Greg. Thank you again, Democrats. We're going to win in 1996. Thank you for being here.